The next members of the International Space Station's crew come from 3 different countries, yet they plan to work for a shared goal: getting humankind ready to fly farther from Earth than this station can go. Canadian Space Agency astronaut Chris Hadfield was born in Sarnia, Ontario, and grew up there and on a farm in Milton, near Toronto. The space race had captured his imagination by the time he was 9 and watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon. And Hadfield thought to himself, "I'm going to grow up to be something. Why not that?"
But then when I look around, I'm thinking, I'm a 9-year-old kid and I'm a Canadian. What are my odds? Not very good. But I thought, well, you know, up until yesterday, people couldn't even go and walk on the moon, and now they can, so maybe I can too. And so I started getting ready that night, basically started, you know, what do I need to do next?
Hadfield got into advanced courses in school and on the academic track that led to college. But he also became a ski instructor while learning how to fly as a member of Canada's Air Cadets.
They teach them a bunch of technical things. They teach them self-discipline. They give them levels of responsibility that they might not get otherwise as teenagers. And in my case, I spent one summer learning to be a glider pilot and getting my glider pilot's license. And right at the age of 16, I became a powered pilot.
Hadfield joined the Canadian Armed Forces right out of high school and earned a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from the Royal Military College. After jet training, he flew the Canadian version of the F-18 for NORAD, attended the U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School, and served as an exchange officer with the U.S. Navy at the Patuxent River Naval Air Station while earning a master's in aviation systems from the University of Tennessee. Hadfield was selected as an astronaut by the Canadian Space Agency in 1992 and assigned to the Johnson Space Center in Houston. On his first space flight, the 1995 shuttle mission that delivered a docking module to the Mir space station, he became the first Canadian to operate the shuttle's Canadarm on orbit. After serving as chief astronaut for CSA, he made his second flight on the 2001 shuttle mission that delivered Canadarm2 to the International Space Station, and he performed 2 spacewalks, the first ever made by a Canadian astronaut. Hadfield served as NASA's Director of Operations in Star City, Russia, retired from the Canadian Air Force as a colonel, and then served in a variety of roles within NASA's astronaut office before getting this assignment to support the research on board the International Space Station.
And it is our big proving ground. It's our test track for building spaceships in the future. And it is therefore the diving board, the launching board, that's going to allow us to confidently go further away from Earth.
Retired Russian Air Force Colonel Roman Romanenko was born in Shelkovo, near Moscow, and grew up in Star City at the center of the cosmonaut community. His father, cosmonaut Yuri Romanenko, flew 3 times before his son graduated from high school. So the idea of being a cosmonaut wasn't so romantic to the son.
Whenever we went on a trip or on a picnic, business trip, I was always with my dad, and I would just always be in contact with cosmonauts, and I thought it would be always normal to be with them. There was nothing special about it for me.
But he did want to be a military pilot. So after high school, Romanenko followed his father into the Air Force. He graduated from the Suvorov Military School in Leningrad and the Chernigov Higher Military School of Pilots. But after the fall of the Soviet Union, young Air Force pilots had fewer opportunities to fly fighters. Romanenko found himself co-piloting cargo transports and ferrying cosmonauts to their launch site in Kazakhstan.
They weren't allowing me to fly a lot, and so I started thinking about changing jobs. Maybe find something related to that. And right at that moment, I was told that they're looking for applicants to join the cosmonauts. And I thought, why not? I give it a try as well.
Romanenko was selected as a cosmonaut candidate in 1997 and made his first spaceflight in 2009, commanding the Soyuz spacecraft that brought he and 2 crewmates to the International Space Station to expand its crew to 6 for the first time on Expedition 20. Romanenko has also served as deputy commander of Russia's Cosmonaut Corps, while his nation has worked with its international partners to get ready for the next journey.
If everything is going well, if we're able to successfully follow the program, the flight program, even while orbiting Earth, with this rich experience, we'll be able to reach other planets as well with no problems.
Dr. Tom Marshburn is a native of Statesville, North Carolina, the seventh of 7 children who loved working and playing outdoors. He remembers being excited to watch the first moonwalk because it fed into his love of adventure.
I loved to draw and to paint. It was in high school that I thought, you know, the space program is interesting to me. It was specifically the space program that got me into a technical field, and I just switched completely. I concentrated on math, science, and fell in love with the physics classes.
After high school in Atlanta, he earned his bachelor's in physics from Davidson College and a master's in physics from the University of Virginia. But he also came to understand that his talents might lie more in working with people.
I actually came down to the Johnson Space Center and started knocking on doors, asking for a job after I received my master's degree. One of the doctors that worked here said, you ought to get a medical degree because NASA's going to need doctors someday. So I did.
Marshburn earned a Doctor of Medicine at Wake Forest, trained as an emergency room physician in Toledo, Ohio, and then worked in an ER in Seattle before being accepted in the first class of NASA's Space Medicine Fellowship Program to train as a flight surgeon. In that role for NASA, Marshburn has worked in the shuttle program, in Star City, Russia for NASA personnel assigned as part of the International Space Station program, and as lead flight surgeon for shuttle and station crews. He was selected as an astronaut in 2004 and made his first spaceflight on a 2009 Space Shuttle mission, during which he made 3 spacewalks to complete the construction of the Kibo Laboratory Complex and get the International Space Station in shape for its mission as a testbed that will help human beings prepare for the next stage of space exploration.
You'd have to build something and then test it out over a long period of time. Well, that's what the space station is. And with the Russian technology, with a lot of technology the international partners have come up with, we're able to find out how we can maintain these things we call people for a long period of time in space.